statement. Um, Obviously, preparing for Michigan State here, a team that is much different than the team we played um, here a few weeks ago. They look like the preseason top 10 team in the country that they were um, heading into the season. And I think they rose as high as fifth in the country. They're just playing really physical. They're excellent defensively. And, they're playing some different, little bit of a different rotation than what they played. To be honest with you, just that little bit different rotation. So they obviously had, some guys while they're playing different guys. They also had a young man that didn't play against us last time. That's playing well for them right now, and Gabe Brown. So, I don't think their win over a really good Illinois team was. I know it probably surprised some people, but they're good. They're playing like you kind of thought they would here coming into the season. And obviously Tom's teams, we all know how good they get as the year goes on. And it's a credit to him and his staff that they keep getting better.
All right, we'll start with Adam Jardy.
Chris, thanks for doing this. You talk about their physicality, and we know just sort of in general, the physical state of your team right now. How have you guys come through a couple of days of rest, and how are guys like Kyle and Musa and Seth and everybody?
Yeah, so Kyle Young will be out with the concussion for the game, and it's significant. There's no minimizing. It's a significant hit to our depth and our team. Happened late in the game. I'm disappointed for him, just because, you'd like for him to be able to be in every game here late in his career, and certainly one that, is against a quality of team that we're playing. So I know he's disappointed, but, I think he's doing well. He's progressing very well. He's progressing very well, the updates that I've gotten. So Musa will be a game time decision.
So without Kyle, then it seems like that would shift maybe some more responsibility onto a guy like Zed. How do you try to then mix and match to replace what a guy like Kyle would give you in a matchup like this?
Yeah, I mean, no, we don't have a guy on our roster that plays quite like, as you know, Adam, plays quite like Kyle, and kind of brings his multi-dimension energy and rebounding and physicality. Obviously it's a concern. I think that's what we've looked at the last couple of days. Some of it's going to depend on, obviously Seth will be important. Zed, as you mentioned. And then depending if Musa is available, he'll be important as well.
Okay, next up, Patrick Murphy.
Chris, specifically against Michigan State, what is not having Kyle, how much of a bigger impact is that against a team like Michigan State that has those guys up front and whatnot? And what about Ibrahima? We saw him warm up some before the last game. How close is he?
Yeah, no, I think we'll see if he'd be available for this particular game. I'm not sure he's got kind of his legs under him yet, but we'll see on Ibrahima. I think I think you miss his activity in terms of pursuing the rebounds and his ability to score in the low post and then defend a Hauser or defend a perimeter player and switch. But his activity, I didn't think Kyle in our last game was maybe the typical Kyle we've seen in this stretch, to be honest with you. His energy wasn't quite the same. That could have been a byproduct of, he played a heavy load in the Penn State game prior. So I was anxious to see how he would kind of respond in this game, but it was kind of a freak play there at the end.
And when you play a team a second time, and we've asked you about this before, but especially one that you beat fairly handily, at least in terms of the final score the first time. How do you get your guys to kind of gear back up, especially like you said, this is a different Michigan State team than you saw a few weeks ago. What do you have to do to get guys zoned in on this won't be the same, kind of game necessarily?
Well, yeah, I think, Patrick, it's a good point. I think I think the reality of who Michigan State is isn't lost on anybody. I think everybody understands you're playing a really talented team and a Hall of Fame coach who's had the program that's had as successful of a run as anyone in any league in the country in the last 25 years. So I do think there's an element of that is already in place. But we'll follow up with some things in terms of making them aware. They had Illinois down, who's fifth in the country. They had them down 19 last night. So I think we knew they were playing well, Patrick. I think had you not had that game, there probably would have need to be a little more in terms of dialogue. But the reality is we have some real facts right now to explain to them that this is not a team that we saw a few weeks ago. It's completely different.
Okay, next up, Brendan Gulick.
Hi, Chris. Perhaps you might extrapolate a little bit more on the unique challenges that Michigan State presents, since they appear to be a team playing with a different ability right now than the last time you saw them.
Yeah, Brendan, they're playing more physical. They've got multiple bigs. They cycle in where they're not really concerned about them getting in foul trouble. They're playing really physical, aggressive. And then they're just in a better rhythm offensively. Gabe Brown has helped them right now, but I think Aaron Henry has played like a first-team all-league guy. They're just playing in a better rhythm and more confidently. Listen, they've got brilliant. They won at Indiana and then at home against Illinois. It's a pretty impressive week so far. But I think the physicality is probably the biggest thing.
And I'm not sure we had a chance to ask you much about Michi after the Michigan game, but he comes off the bench and takes one shot and nails it right in front of Michigan's bench, and he has his typical the confident, fun reaction to hitting a shot. Young guy who, again, we all look at it and think about the storylines of him. He should be a senior in high school trying to win a state title. And now he's playing in one of the most watched college basketball games of the year against his rival, hitting a big shot. How much can that help a player's confidence early in their career to go out and execute like that?
Yeah, no, I think he's been great, and he's been really good in practice. Michi, I continue to say, he's really helped our team too. I think his short stints in which he's played and been effective on both ends and been aggressive has really been important. And as you mentioned, he's really confident, and that's sometimes hard when you're playing a role where you're getting spot minutes. But he's stayed really confident because that's who he is.
Okay, next up, Mitch Stacy, AP.
Hi, Chris. Bigger picture question for you. Success of the basketball team this year came right after a really high-profile run by Ohio State football. And I wonder if that success, does it translate to basketball, and how does it affect recruiting at all? Does it affect the profile of your program that, program has done so well? I'm wondering how that carries over.
Yeah, I think I understand the question, Mitch. I think, the sustained excellence of the football program, I don't know if there's, there have been some ebbs and flows in terms of our program and the overall, high level achievement or success. I don't know if that's necessarily really reflected or coincided in any way with the football program here in their kind of sustained excellence. I think the reality is and I've said this to Ryan, I thought their coaches, their players, their entire program set a terrific positive tone on all of us who were currently playing, just in the way they went about COVID and handling COVID and performing, and their enthusiasm and passion for playing and competing. I thought it just set a terrific tone. I really did. And, you know, I'm not necessarily, I mean, you got to earn whatever you get between the lines. So different sports, all those kind of things. But I've told Ryan Day, I absolutely credit him and his players and his staff for the tone they set, because I thought it was a great, really a great example for all of us that are currently playing.
How about recruiting? Does it matter when you're recruiting how the football team just did? Did any kids mention that? Is it important to them?
You know, I think it comes up every now and then. You know, I think it comes up in some cases for sure, that they have watched over the years on a Saturday afternoon when their season isn't in play. They've watched a high profile game. And in some cases it doesn't come up, to be honest with you. It's kind of hit and miss with young kids. I think that's the reality with where some kids follow it. You know, EJ Liddell he enjoyed college football, so he watched the Buckeyes. Some of our players didn't as much. So it's kind of hit and miss.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
Okay, next up, Tony Gerdeman.
Chris, I think last week you said this team will never be elite defensively. And so I'm just wondering, like, as you're driving home, you've got quiet moments, or you're sitting at home, you've got a quiet moment. How often does your mind just drift to your defense?
Oh, I mean, it's consuming me right now. So it's everything I think about, because that's our biggest area of growth and improvement that we need to have. And I think that was just an honest statement on our part, that I think, knowing where we're at and some of our overall deficiencies, I think, you know, we might not have the potential to be a top 20 defense like we have in the past year, but we can be better. And I think that's the challenge in front of us.
Do you have any doubts you can be good enough?
No, I think I'm anxious to see that. I think we've got to try to, as coaches, put them in the best positions possible, put them in better positions, and we've got to, as a group, take more ownership in improving in that area. You know, I think I knew it was going to be a challenge coming into the season. I thought we'd be good offensively. Again, I didn't anticipate this kind of offensive ability. I didn't think we'd have trouble scoring, is what I was, you know. I know coming into the season, we as coaches, some of us talked about, well, we might have trouble. I did not think we'd have trouble scoring. But I did think this was going to be our biggest challenge, and it remains, and we have to get better at it.
Thanks.
Okay, Tim Hall.
Hey, thanks, Chris. I was wondering, with what you know about your team this late in the season, are there more mental difficulties or physical difficulties with where the team's health is right now?
Yeah, I would say, Tim, I think physically we've got to get healthy. You know, we just now, listen, you're going to have this. You know, Musa sprained an ankle in the midst of competing at Penn State, and it got pretty swollen. There's nothing he can do about that. Seth's still trying to get healthy. He's not near his 100%. Kyle just kind of has a freak play and bangs head. So you're going to have some of these things, but we have had the most that we've ever had as a coaching staff. So I think managing that and keeping our guys in the right frame of mind, they're in a good place mentally. I think, they're in a good place. I think they're some ways you get frustrated when you're like, oh, here we go again. We got another injury, whether it's individually or collectively, but we understand it's part of it. Some years you get hit more than others. That's just the reality. And this has been one of those years. And fortunately, for the most part, we've managed it really, really well.
And I just one quick one about Kyle. As your career as a coach, have you ever had a guy you thought was that good that was never a 10-point per game dude?
Oh, what is he right now, Tim? He's close.
He's like 8.9. He's close. Yeah.
Yeah. No, probably not. I have him right now in league play just at 10, which is kind of what I look at a little more. And then you're right. Overall, he's right at 9. But double figure score, I think he's right there. But no, I think he's the most kind of effective and I would say really gifted player that has just shown the ability to just be a really good player and affect the game in a lot of different areas. He's, we had a kid at we had a couple kids. We had a kid at Butler who was, gifted in terms of impact in the game in so many different areas and different position than Kyle. But, you see some of those guys that just, while they may not ever be a prolific scorer, they're elite in terms of what they can do to help your team win. And he's up there.
Okay, next up, Steve Hellwagon.
Hey, Coach. I think you guys have won 6 games in a row on the road, and that's not easy to do, I don't think, in this league.
Yeah.
And it's not something that you just luck into either. Just what's your thought, I guess, about what you guys have accomplished and how you've approached your business on these trips and what, it's going to take to do that one last time, final road game of the season, one last time.
Well, it'll take and I think it'll take as great a road effort as we've had all year. I really do, with the way they're playing. I really do. Listen, we know it's not the same, right? I'll begin. We know it's not the same playing on the road. It's just not. And there's not the same level of challenges. Having said that, you do look at some teams, even in our league, and they play much better at home than on the road. And you wonder kind of maybe why we have performed well on the road. I do think it just goes back to our guys have really approached each game, Steve, with really good preparation, good concentration, good focus. They understand the challenges, even though without the crowd, you're playing on another team's home court that they're more comfortable with. So I think maybe there's an increased alertness on their part even. But overall, the biggest thing I would say is team maturity. You said, hey, what's one factor? I would say team maturity.
Other question, a name from the past is coming back, it seems, Langford. He was on their teams that were really good. The first year you were there, he had 17 points in the game when you guys beat them. They were number 1. And last night, I guess he had 15 points and 16 rebounds. It sounds like he's finally, maybe like Suing and Towns, kind of get into the flow of things as the year goes on. Just what's he mean to them and what's it mean to them if he's able to play anywhere close to that level?
He really helps them. He's a really good player. We know that from coaching against him. And, as a fan of college basketball and a fan of that young man watching him from a distance, you really do feel good and happy for him that Langford is healthy now and playing in a great rhythm. Obviously, we hope he doesn't do that against us, and we've got to really be aware of him. But you're happy for that young man to get back to full health. But he's really important for him, and he's a really good player. And you said it; he's done it for a number of years now.
Hey, just squeeze in Diallo. How long has he been practicing? How much?
About a week. About a week. He's been going about a week now, full strength. So, I believe if we decide to use him, he should be ready to go. I just need to get that verification from our medical staff.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, Joey Kaufman, Dispatch.
Hi, Chris. Sort of an off-the-wall question a little bit, but I wanted to ask about the mask that you wear this season, the Shema 97. It's been pretty popular in college basketball and college sports too. I think Nick Saban and Ryan Day both wore it in the fall. Coach McGuff wears it. How did you first hear about it, start wearing it, and how did it become your mask of choice, if you will? Just kind of curious.
Sure. Mask question. Yeah, that is. I appreciate the question. Was watching college football in the fall, sitting on my patio. Was watching college football in the fall. It looked like a comfortable mask where it was somewhat breathable, and our players could potentially hear me. Googled. I won't say who I saw wearing it, but I Googled his name and the mask. Found out exactly where it was. Ordered 5 or 10, and my wife's since ordered about 10 to 15 more, and our staff has as well. As you guys know, with masks, these types of masks in particular, you can't wear them straight for a month. They're a little bit. You've got to change them over. So, it's been effective. Listen, I can do better in a lot of areas, and I can do better at keeping my mask on during games, but I do my best. But that one's been a comfortable one to wear.
You said you were watching a college football game in the fall. Do you remember what game or?
It was Alabama and somebody.
Thanks.
Okay, Bruce Hooley.
Chris, why did you think you couldn't be a good defensive team beginning of the year? Because you lacked a shot blocker. You got a lot of similarly sized guys. A lot of people look at that and say, you can switch everything, and that would make you tough defensively. So why did you think you couldn't be?
Oh, I think it's just, been fortunate to coach some elite defensive teams. And when I say elite, top 20, top 25. I think some of it is, we had a little bit of we were going to be playing some younger guys at important positions, but really two factors is, I think having a, I think I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this. I think length at the rim is one factor. High level length at the rim is one factor. And then, quite honestly, I knew we were going to be playing some guys that just defensively have some individual work to do. I just knew those guys were going to be playing heavy minutes for us. So I just knew it was going to be very much a work in progress.
And as it concerns Justice, he really responded when you gave him more responsibility handling the ball, when you had injuries at the point. He became a kind of a double threat every night. He has, in his last 3 of his last 4 games, has struggled to get back to that, contributor on the glass, contributor scoring in double figures. Sunday was another instance of that. What do you see that's changed for him? What has he gotten away from?
Yeah, no, the specific games, I think it's been different in any specific games. I think Justice is fine. He's got to continue to improve his motor and his effort on both ends. But he's so multidimensional and gifted. I think he's going to have a run like he had, prior.
Good, thanks.
Okay, we'll go to Clay Hall.
Hey, Chris, with maybe the regular season Big Ten title out of reach, and I don't think the committee thinks much of what happens at the conference tournament. Are you playing for seeding in these last 3 games, and how important is that? Is that kind of the job one at this point?
I think it's something you're aware of, Clay. I don't know that that's solely what we're playing for. I think you're aware of it. I think, honestly, you're just trying to, play well and finish playing well and finish doing things well and playing effectively. And, that's probably number one. And number two is trying to get healthy. The seeding, we have a brutal stretch, as we all know. I've talked about it being the most challenging one we've been a part of. I think, you know, the bottom line is some of that will take care of itself, but you know, you'd like to finish this thing playing well, and then that leading into, you know, tournament play, Big Ten and NCAA tournament play.
You mentioned Izzo, excuse me, as a Hall of Fame coach. You've been here for years. You've accomplished some things. You've beaten him. Are you one of the guys around him? Like, what do you call him and what does he call you?
Oh, I think I call him a Hall of Famer. He calls me probably a guy that hadn't earned much yet. So I think, we got, you know, I got a ways to go.
But you're on a first name basis, right?
Yeah, no, he's a friend. He's a guy that I'll pick his brain, Clay, and I'll pick his brain. You know, I'll pick his brain, and in the off season, I've done it, you know, probably every year that I've been in the Big Ten, just to, you know, not. There are other guys I'll pick their brain more because there's a competitive element to it, right? It's kind of trade secrets. You don't want to give away too much, but
right.
He's been whenever I've asked for advice, he's been more than generous.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Okay, we'll run through these last three real quick. Adam Jardy.
Did the injury with Kyle, did it happen late in the game? Looked like he might have hit heads with somebody else. Is that when it happened?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you talked about your team's maturity a second ago. It seems like when you get things thrown at you this season, you guys have mostly been able to rise to the challenge. Why do you think that has been the case? And do you feel confident that in spite of something like this, that you guys can still, you know, I guess go there tomorrow and get the job done?
Yeah, I hope, you know, Adam, I think this will test us. I think these final couple weeks, honestly, are going to test us, just because of the quality of our competition. I think it's going to test our togetherness, our maturity, our, you know, it's just going to test us in some ways, which honestly, to be honest with you, like I welcome it. I think it's good. I don't love, you know, would I prefer to not play 4 teams the caliber of teams we're playing in the final stretch? I don't know. I mean, I think part of me probably would prefer not, but there's also part of me as a coach that wants to embrace it and knows that it can help us if we handle it the right way. I'm not going to feel like that in the moment, but there is a part of me that I think wants to embrace it, these challenges we got ahead of us. So I've got just an unbelievable, you know how I feel about this group, and they've proven so much up to this point. We'll see how we finish with this stretch.
Okay, Colin Hasil.
Chris, I understand why you were optimistic about this offense when you look at sort of the pieces that you had coming back. But when you talk about you didn't expect the offense to be quite this good, what has made it even better than you thought it would be?
Talented offensive players. Number one, tremendous buy-in to playing together. Tremendous buy-in. And then I think, I would say those two factors. I also think Ryan Pedon's done a great job. He's done a great job with, just continuing to, it's not like football where we necessarily have an offensive coordinator, but it's probably as close to any program in college basketball towards that model. And I think he deserves a lot of credit.
Okay, final question, Andy Evans.
Hey, Chris, you just talked about embracing challenges. So kind of going back to Kyle and his injury, How are you guys going to embrace the challenge without having one of your leading rebounders going against a Michigan State team that obviously has a lot of depth? They're long, and they're one of the better rebounding offenses in the conference.
Yeah, Andy, we're going to have guys really raise their level, and we're going to have some guys probably play more minutes than they played all year. We're going to have a commitment on that end, on the glass, that is better than in any game we've had all year. Again, that's why I look at this game and say it's as much of a challenge because of the team we're facing without Kyle as we've had all season. So we're going to need some guys to play more and play as effectively as they played all season.
And the fact that you haven't played since Sunday and you've had some time now without Kyle, knowing he wouldn't be ready for tomorrow's game, has it been a little easier to maybe cook up a game plan in that regard?
Yeah, it's helped. We didn't know for certain right after the game because he was being evaluated for really the next day. But once we got the word, yeah, you immediately kind of go to what's next, and that's why we're trying to get to the bottom of kind of what our team will look like tomorrow. Does that include Musa? Where's Seth's health out? But all those things are a bit fluid right now.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.